Okay, so I've included the pattern for this bag that is made from laminate fabric and is waterproof. So if you need a bag for the Bagwell that is not only reusable but is also waterproof, this is how you're going to do it. And I have two different patterns. One is more simple than the other. This requires advanced sewing skills. So as you can see, it has a square bottom, which makes it sit real, like just stand up. And it also has, of course, to make it waterproof, it has a lining that's got the exact same square bottom of it. And on the lining seams, like along the square and the side seam, I use this product. And it's called Seam Sealer, and you buy it, I bought this at REI, or you can buy it at any camping store. It's used to seal the seams of tents, make them waterproof. Okay, so the way you make this bag, just gonna turn it right back inside itself. You're going to take, you're gonna need two 5.5-inch square squares. Okay, so we made two 5.5-inch squares that are 5.5 inches square. And then we'll take this one that is, I made this 22 inches because I'll show you why. I put a little bit extra on it. So to start, you'll have two of these, and the inside of the bag, like the other bags that are lined, the inside's going to be higher, taller than the outside, because the inside is going to come up. See this? It's going to come up around. You're going to turn it under and then sew it so it encases it. So there's a top and a bottom. Doesn't matter. So you choose one. So across the bottom or one side lengthwise, you stitch 3/8 of an inch in. This is the seam allowance I'm using. And then what we'll do over here, what's necessary when you sew, like you make that square, and for your fabrics to, like this, how it turns real nice and it's not all bunched up. The way you get that is I went and I made a mark on each corner showing where the corner is, 3/8 in from each side. You see those little marks. So then you take this piece and fold it in half. And maybe generally, if you were going to make something like this, you would make a side piece that was each side, and you'd put a seam in each corner. But since I'm waterproofing this, I want to use the least amount of seams as possible. So you find your center, and you just take a pen and you mark it. And then you'll fold it down right where along that, and you want to just place the one mark on the bottom with this, and then you mark it here. And you do the same over here. And this just is a better way to make it precise. And then over here is where the seam's going to be, and there's extra fabric, but I'll show you why. So you line it up again, and you come over here and you mark it. And you do the same down here. I already did it. Okay, so what you did, the reason you stitch along here, and if you sew, then you probably know this. So the reason you stitch, it's called a stay stitching. And then you come along where the marks are, you make a clip right up to the stitching. You don't want to go through the stitching, so it should look just like that. Okay, so then you get your little square here, and you can start. So this is where the seam is going to be over here, and I made a mark, but I didn't clip it. And the reason being is when I make my seam, I'm going to sew right down to this side, on this side of the stitching. So you just start right here, and you'll line up your marks with the little marks on your bottom, and then you just sew from mark to mark, and then you go right to the clip, right on the inside. You want to stay right on the inside of the stitching, and you go right to that clip, and then you just pull your fabric up, kind of miter it up, kind of like this, just fold it, get it kind of, and you get it, and then this clip here should line up with this mark, and it kind of does. So then you just sew again right on the inside of the stitching, right to that clip, and then you turn it again. You just have to move your extra fabric out of the way, and it's right there. And then you sew down to this corner, right there, and then you sew over to this mark, right where it shows where the seam is. So you just sew right there. So then you've got it all sewn in, just like this. It should look like that. See where I sewed just right to the clip, and then you clip, and it will look like this on the underneath side, just square. So I didn't sew the seam yet. So when I get it over here to where I've sewn the last corner, then I just fold it to bring the seam together. And that one would have been extra. There's extra fabric, so you find exactly where your 3/8 inch mark is. Because sometimes if you mark it and you go ahead and sew it and everything, it kind of stretches. This upper piece kind of stretches when you pull it around that corner. So it doesn't always come out, and that's why I mark it like I do and clip it by measuring on here. So I come around and I find out exactly where 3/8 of an inch is, and then I just trim off the excess. And then I stitch, and I'll just stitch up my seam. And then what you do, you have to open all the seams so that you can put the seam sealer on them to make them waterproof. So you open the seam, each one. You have to do this a seam at a time. So this is where you just have to kind of stop, and I do the inside first, and while the seam sealer is drying, I make the outside. So I just take like a pin or something and just really try to push the seam open, so you get right down to the stitching. See, right, kind of really make sure you get it just like if you were to iron it, but you don't want to iron it because it will melt. So if you can just kind of use your fingernail or your thumb, not quite you don't want to use your nail too much, but you just really want to get that open. And then you'll lay it flat, and you'll just put your seam sealer on. And this is pretty runny, and it comes out kind of fast. So if it does, you can get just like a paper towel and kind of dab off some of the extra. And you can also kind of rub it on the others. And if you want to take a hair dryer and put on it, that'll speed up the drying time too. But you really want to let it dry because it is sticky. It does take a while, but once it's dry, it really does a good job. And then of course, say this will be sewn, so last you just make sure you get this one open and pressed open, and then seal it. And then you put one inside the other when you're all done. You just stick the inside, put one right side out, one wrong side out. So you put the one that's wrong side out down inside the one that's right side out, and then you just bring the inside up and over, turn it under once and then over again, and you have your bag. Now for a little less advanced skills, I made this one that's just, it's just a pocket. So it's like the simple bag that I have pattern for, but it has a lining. So you just make 2 pouches of the same. The inside again is going to be about an inch longer, higher, so that you can again bring it up and around, tuck it under, and then tuck it under again. And this one I actually put drawstrings in. This laminate fabric's kind of sticky, but it does work with this nylon cord. Just for whatever reason, if you want to have a bag to use for something else that needs to be waterproof other than maybe what you'd use it for with the Bagwell. Okay, now I hope those instructions helped you to be able to make the square bag, the bag with a square bottom, easier. If you have any questions, you can always just email me at thebagwell.com, and I guess it's info@thebagwell.com, and I will answer any questions that you need. And happy Bagwelling, and I hope you have fun making some of these bags and making the Bagwell even more green than it already is. Celebrate Earth Day. Thank you.